call the pedal committee to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag
of the United States
of America,
to the republic
which stands one nation under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Okay, introductions.
I think we'll bypass introductions. I think
Splendid.
people should see that on their Zoom cast. There's a participant list and you can take a look at that at your leisure.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the October 7th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Mayor Lynch made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Dave
Okay.
Peeler makes a
Dave
second.
Peeler.
Mhm. Thank you, Dave.
Dave, second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Mitch, do we have to do, since we're virtual, do we have to do a roll call? I thought we had to. Is that for all meetings?
Yes, it is.
Well, it is. Do
I
we
thought-
have?
I thought committee meetings don't necessarily have that.
We
because-
usually haven't done it for committee meetings. So in the past we haven't.
All right.
But I don't know if we even have a roll call list for the pedal and paddle.
So the chair will authorize a voice vote for the purposes of this committee. And if we get in trouble,
We're gonna remember that. Andrew.
I'll take full responsibility. Our motions will be out of order. Okay. So moving, all those in favor, we did that. All those in favor signify by saying aye, raise your hand, just to make sure.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, board, for your forbearance there. All right, we'll start out with PED, the updates on the PED side.
Yeah, I guess I'll take the first three here and get it over with. So first of all, the bike map application. I know I've been talking about this forever and it seems like it's taking forever. We are working right now on tidying this up. And when I say we, it's ourselves and the Illinois people on creating a bike app application for your mobile phone through My City Bikes. And we expanded the territory from the 3 counties here all the way into Illinois, into Southern Cook, Will County areas. Pretty much the entire Calumet region is what we're trying to capture with this application. But things have been a bit slow because we brought on the Illinois people a bit late in the process, and some back and forth stuff, some computer jargon notwithstanding. We hope to have a draft for ourselves to review and hope to have that launched in March. We could have launched it now, but it's not exactly bike weather. So we thought we could refine this a bit more and take a little bit more of our time to make sure it is absolutely the best product for this region. And we hope to see that happen shortly. So any questions on the bike map application? Okay. I'll just move on to the Old Plank Road Trail study. People may know that, or may not know, there was a study that has been launched between, again, us and Illinois. A lot of cooperation here, a lot of cross-state cooperation. The communities in Southern Cook County, like Ford Heights, Chicago Heights, Sauk Village, Linwood, they were successful in receiving $300,000 from Cook County in a grant to do this study. And we are partnering with $50,000 of our own money to bring this study into Dyer and into Cherville. It's to extend the Old Plank Road Trail, which currently terminates in Chicago Heights, to bring it into Cherville, the old abandoned rail line through there. So that study is hopefully going to start launching within the month. We've been going back and forth trying to secure the consultant and went through a process there. I think the consultant that we selected was Civil Tech out of, can't remember where in Illinois they are, but they were the selection. John Novicic, who's on the phone, was part of the team that helped select the consultant, and he will be part of the team to oversee the consultant as we go along. It's probably going to be a year-long study, but There are some challenges to the route, especially in Chicago Heights. Some of the old right-of-way has been obliterated, so we have to figure that out. But when we get out into Indiana, it's a pretty straight shot. And if anyone's ever taken the old Plank Road Trail going towards Joliet from Chicago Heights, it's quite the experience. And so we're very excited to try to link it into our network and into the Pensy Greenway. So any questions on Old Plank Road Trail?
Mitch, real quick, the eastern terminus of that, where does it end right now in Chicago Heights? You
Great
know?
question. It's in a park. It's in a forest preserve.
Okay.
I can't remember. It's near Halstead,
So there's probably about like 10 more miles.
roughly. Yeah.
Okay, to get to Indiana. Okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of distance, and if you ever took a look at your Google Maps, like everyone else does these days, you'll see that the corridor is pretty straight and straightforward until you get to close to Chicago Heights, and then things get a little weird. So that's what we're hoping the study will help smooth over.
Great.
Okay, and the last thing is under PED is the IIJA, which is the infrastructure bill, which was passed by Congress and signed by President Biden within the last couple months. This is the new bill that is going to supplant the FAST Act, which is all the way back with these transportation reauthorization bill. Basically, it's the funding avenue for NERC. We exist because of this bill, and we are funded through this bill. I'm going to show you this spreadsheet here that'll give you an idea of what we're going to be getting. Previous bills that were passed, these 6-year or 5-year transportation bills, they were in the maybe the 500 billion range or what have you. Now we have a $1 trillion infrastructure bill. So again, do the math. We're going to get a few more dollars because of this. You can see in these columns here where NERC is concerned, these are all the funds that we're going to get out of the bill. This is what helps pay for all these programs, PL, the planning funding, and of course helps pay for my salary and so forth. So as you can see, and what has been bolded here is the surface infrastructure. Of course, for our purposes, the transportation alternative, these two here, that's dealing with trails and non-motorized transportation. You can tell that we were averaging about $1 million per year. That's almost going to be $2 million per year going forward, which is an increase of nearly $800,000. And of course, as you can see, the big ticket here is the yearly appropriations that we're going to get now because of this. It was 20 million. Now it's going to be kicked up to 26 million, a $6 million increase. And that's just in Group 1. People that need to understand Group 1 are the funds that we distribute to the urbanized areas in both Lake and Porter County. Group 2 are the urbanized funds in LaPorte County. That's primarily Michigan City, LaPorte themselves. So they're going to get a kick. They're going to get a kick of almost $626,000. So as you can see, it was a substantial increase to what we have received previously, and obviously that is going to go towards great investments within this region. And we're hoping to, obviously from this perspective of this community, this committee, to fund more, non-motorized transportation facilities, trails, road diets, and sidewalks and so forth, to kind of increase our bike and pedestrian movements throughout the region. But obviously a big win nationally because we do have major infrastructure issues. This simply doesn't address all of them. There are still lots of issues, lots of repairs, and lots of concerns out there that need to be addressed, but this definitely is a major step towards that. And we're going to probably have our first call for projects or NOFA regarding these funds probably within the next year. And obviously we're going to be able to accept more applications because of the increase in funding. And you're seeing the transportation alternatives. What I'd like to explain here is you have the TA funds, which are specifically for trails and non-motorized transportation, but we also can use the surface transportation or surface infrastructure funding. We can use these funds for trails as well. So all of this plays into what we can do, and for that matter, to congestion mitigation and air quality. You can see that there was a little bit of a kick up as well in those funds. And all of these block grants and all these other funds are eligible for trail development. So it's going to be, a good time for application to come forward. And if you haven't thought about funding a trail, this is probably the best time to do so. So any questions on our new funding allocations? All right. I'll kick it back over to you, Andrew.
All right, thank you for the informative information. Let's move on to pedal.
All right. Don, do you have anything from South Shore Trails?
Hello, everybody. Just very briefly, this is the time of the year when we always start to look around, look at what the major agencies and municipalities are thinking are going to be their major agenda items for the year. And we begin to line up what we think are going to be our major agenda items for the year. So winter is always kind of our planning phase, and that's where we are now. We're going to be really interested in following the things like the old Plank Road Trail study and the progress on what the various municipalities think they're going to fund in terms of trail projects coming up, and see if we can be of help in any of those things. That's it.
Thank you, Don.
Yes, thank you, Don. I guess I'll take it from here, Andrew, with the trail counters. I know that there are people on the phone here, and what we're trying to work on is distributing new trail counters throughout the region. These would be GPS-based electronic trail counters. We have trail counters out there now. They're pretty rudimentary in the sense that we have to go out there and actually retrieve the data from these counters, and that's obviously labor intensive. And so we're trying to get some high-tech counters installed throughout the region. I think we have 20 entities, both municipalities and nonprofits that we have been working with, and quasi-public entities that have requested counters. And we're hoping to distribute, at least get those counters bought within the next couple months. And we're going to be making calls. Myself and other people in our office are going to be reaching out to our stakeholders, those who have asked for counters, to start working on the receiving our local match for those before we purchase. And we are able to provide I believe up to 80% of the cost through our funds here at NERPC. And again, working with the entities on the 20% local match. So be on the lookout for that. And I do, any questions on trail counters before I move on? Okay, so now I'm going to actually introduce Kevin Paulette. Kevin is a fellow NERPC coworker of mine, but he's also overseeing the data bike project. So I'm going to pass it to you, Kevin, for a brief update.
All right, thanks, Mitch. Yeah, so I got Mitch started the project of getting the data bike ready to get ready for hopefully this upcoming season, which is the plan. We're hoping to partner with MACOG and use this bike for both of our entities together. But the overall function of the bike will be it'll literally be just like a bike that takes data on all of the trails, shows the condition, and like it has video and stuff like that, along with GPS to show where some of the issues on the trails could be. It's something that we're really excited about. We have a person we're talking to with the Chicago Forestry, works for Chicago Forestry, and I've been in contact with him a little bit. He texted or emailed me earlier today saying that he's been out sick all week, but he's going to get back to me here soon. So that's where the update is on the data bike right now, but we're excited about it, and we're hoping that we can get it up and running, building it and getting all the materials together by March, ready for this upcoming season.
And once we get the data bike, and again, the data bike is simply a bicycle that will be able to determine the condition of trails throughout the region. And Kevin will be working closely with all the communities on that data, and probably riding the bike too. So he's hopefully going to be the guy sometime this summer riding around on a bicycle and being paid for it. So it's a good gig if you can get it, and then sharing that data with the region representatives. So keep an eye on that one. So any questions for Kevin on data bike?
Yeah, I have a question. Kevin, what's your plan of hitting trails? Are you going to prioritize certain trails or the most used ones first, and then, or how are you going to go about hitting all the trails in the NERPC jurisdiction?
Mitch, do you have a better answer than I do for that one?
Well, we don't really have an answer yet,
Okay,
but
that was kind of my thought too. So I wasn't sure if there was something I didn't know yet.
no, we're going to be able to, I think, John, we're going to be able to take on all the trails within a good month or so. And I think the idea is to hit the major ones first, like the Pensy and the Erie Lackawanna, and then kind of, stair step from there to the lower used ones, and even the local trails, such as the one around Wicker Park and so forth. But yeah, we'll have a hierarchy and make sure that we take on the larger ones first and then share that data. And then we have Dustin from MACOG on the phone, our adjacent MPO in the South Bend region, and we're hoping to work with them on Data Bike and sharing the product with them, because we probably are going to only need to use that bike maybe once or twice a year, maybe even less. So we hope that we can make that happen and go from there.
And then as a follow-up, then there would be a recommendation from you or Kevin on, obviously some type of report on the condition of trail and maybe a recommendation of what should be some of the improvements.
Right. There is a report that is generated on the type of, the type of condition your trail's in. There's all sorts of different variables that are accounted here for in the sense of, where the condition of it, maybe the cracks. Obviously, the bike is going to be able to absorb vibrations when it rides, and it's going to be able to report on that as well. So there's all sorts of different variables that we're going to be able to measure and report out on.
Great.
All right.
I want to say Ross, he raised his hand a few times, so I want to say he may have a question also.
I think he got bounced.
Okay, fair enough then.
All right. Any other questions on Data Bike? All right. Mr. Chairman, I will now launch into the presentation.
All right, sounds wonderful.
So what I'm going to do is stop sharing the agenda, and now I am going to start sharing the presentation. So give me a second to figure this out.
Take your time.
Oh, I don't want to take too much time. All right. So you should see the cover screen right now. Can you see it all?
Yes.
All right. Very good. So what we're going to do here is this should come up. There you go. The Marquette Greenway has had some great news over the last couple of months, to say the least, and we're very excited to share with you what has gone down. We've received over $20 million between Raise and Ready, and I am constantly being tongue twisted over this matter because, both programs decided to use nearly the same acronym, but we're going to try to clear the air for you on what's going on. And I am more than honored to be joined by Rafi Wilkinson, who is with the Indiana Dunes National Park. And he's going to take over on a few slides as well and describe what he's doing, because we're pretty much working in tandem with the national park. Over 7 miles or 6 miles of the trail is going to be within the national park property. And they're pretty much going to be managing that project, where NERPC is going to be working with entities such as Portage and Gary and so forth to finish the balance of the project. So I'm going to go over the trail. I know a lot of you have heard about the trail, but we're going to talk about what got funded and what you can expect in these next few months ahead as we move forward with the development of this project. So the trail itself, if you haven't been familiarized yet, it is a path from Chicago to New Buffalo off-road vision. Total length is about 60 miles. That always changes a little bit depending on what people are doing with some of the route, depending on the viability of certain paths, but it's about 60 miles. We have either constructed or have fully funded 34 of those miles, and you'll see that within the blue shades. The dark blue is built and the teal is fully funded. And we still had about 26 miles remaining to get this done. So how are we going to finish the trail? Well, we have to go for funding. So first up, let's talk about the RAISE grant. Okay, so RAISE, and that is an acronym like every good government program is. And this is Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity. Now, RAISE is the same as BUILD, as the same as TIGER. That goes back to the Obama administration. And as you'd imagine, every administration needs to name it for their own good, and that's fine, but it's basically the same program. So let's talk about this long, strange trip that we have had with this actual funding avenue. Again, we submitted under the TIGER with the United States Department of Transportation in 2017. President Trump named it the BUILD program, and we submitted again in 18 and 19. We kind of skipped 20 because there were some participants that weren't as sure as they were previously, but thankfully we were able to get the RAISE grant announcement and to submit, and we actually submitted last summer, the 4th time in July. And we were awarded. Whoa, we were actually awarded in November. It was a big day for this region. We received about $17.8 million, and I'll talk about in a minute. So that's a pretty big deal, since 90 projects were selected in 47 states, including DC and Guam. That's almost 90 out of 900 that were submitted throughout the country. So you do your math on that. It's about 5 to 10% of projects are selected every year. And this particular one had a bit more money afforded to it. I think there was maybe $1 billion in the RAISE program, which is a bit more than usual. Helped out. There you go, $1 billion awarded. $10 billion have been awarded total in the life of the program since 2009, and 8 trail projects were actually selected this go around. It is a record, and we think it's a record because under the BUILD program, they weren't funding trails. They had different priorities. They had priorities in the rural areas, and non-motorized just wasn't one of their priorities, and that's how it goes. Different administrations have different priorities, and with this new administration, they had more of a priority on trails and equity, making sure that that communities that are traditionally disinvested were to have the focus and to receive the funding. So as for what it looks like here, we submitted for those 26 unfunded miles in all 3 states. It made up 17 projects, and those are shown here on this graphic. Those are the 17 projects which were identified in the grant. The total project cost of all these 17 phases is just over $40 million, $40.1 million. And we asked for 23.1 million, which is about 57% of the cost. We were able to scrape together about 17.8 million, 17.9 million, which is about 43% local funds and awards. And that have really helped our application because they want to see an overmatch. They want to see more skin in the game, so to speak, from the local entities, and we sure abided with that. And here is the actual funding sheet that I was waiting for the last 5 years. This is what makes it official, these fact sheets that you can find on their website. Again, we were funded that amount. And if you saw the previous slide, that's a $5 million shortfall, okay? Now, we're not too alarmed by that. I think we have pinpointed where the shortfall is. But I have already talked about the amount of money we're receiving from the new infrastructure bill. And I didn't even mention Next Level Trails. Next Level Trails is still out there. They're going to hopefully have another cycle of applications being called for later this year. In fact, 2 more cycles. They have to spend down another $60 million. So we've already received about 2 applications have been awarded through Next Level Trails on the Marquette Greenway. Portage has received one, and they're going to be constructing it this year. Burns Harbor received one. So we're very confident we're going to get another Next Level Trail. So we can get help from Next Level Trails. We can get help from our own program money here at NERC. So we believe we could easily make up this $5 million. Again, nothing like getting nearly $18 million to begin with, and we're extremely pleased with it. So I'm going to run through the actual project route with you. Again, starting in the city of Chicago, we're looking to start the project at the western termini being East 100th Street and Avenue G in Calumet Park. Now, this red line that you see here, it's pretty much done. The city of Chicago, over the last 5 years, we've been actively pursuing this grant. The city knows we've been actively pursuing it. That green line that you see at the very bottom right is a built segment of the trail. So they basically got the hint strongly that we're coming in, and they finally did get in there. They rebuilt their street, they put bike lanes, they put a sidewalk in. They pretty much are a done deal in this project. So we can, again, cross that off the list. And again, that helps save that $5 million deficit going forward. The other segment here, continuing to the east. And again, everything to the west of here is either funded or built. And what you see on the very left-hand side is Klein Avenue, or Route 912 here, Klein Avenue there. And what you also see is that blue line, which is a funded segment going through some of the Shirley Hines Nature Preserve property. And then what we're looking to do is bring this segment. This is pretty much all the city of Gary that you see here, connecting to the existing trail, which is on the very right side of the screen here. And this is a very challenging segment because, as you can see, it's pretty tight through here. We're going to be utilizing a bridge that's going to be able to cross the toll road at Klein Avenue. And you're seeing it in the lower part of your screen. That is an existing bridge that used to be the bridge of the South Shoreline when it went into downtown East Chicago many, many moons ago. It's been sitting there vacant and abandoned since. For some reason, it's owned by Save the Dunes. I don't have time to describe that issue, but I believe Save the Dunes is more than willing to get rid of it. And we're hoping that they can do so, work with the city of Gary and Hammond, and refurbish the bridge as a part of the Marquette Greenway. And we did get funding for that project. As you can see, it kind of loops around. It's going to follow the NICD line and then kind of jog itself to Bridge Street and come back up to the existing Gary Green Link there on the east side of, well, on the right side of your screen. As you can see, when it gets to the NICD line, you can see it kind of going on a vertical or going on a diagonal. There are a lot of train tracks in that vicinity, and maybe one day we can actually go straight through to Bridge Street instead of diving down the US 20, but right now that's the best we can do. And as we continue on here, I'm gonna pass it on to because at the very left-hand side of your screen, we have the trail funded and built to Broadway. That's Union Station. And at Union Station on Broadway there at State Route 53 going east, that is the National Parkland. And from there, I will pass it to Rafi if you want to start talking at that point.
Sure, thanks, Mitch. So yeah, the red segment that we see there is all within the national park. A lot of people don't realize we actually extend all the way to Broadway. This has been a really collaborative effort. I see that Deb Backus is on the call. So the city of Gary has been instrumental. We've got a lot of real estate on that whole red segment. There's still 22 parcels of land that we are actively going after. It's all abandoned railroad. And many people have tried for some 20 to 30 years to acquire this for the National Park Service. And I'm pleased to say that with Deb's help, we submitted 5 of those 22 needed parcels in December to Lake County. So that was a huge monument to us. But the other important thing is we do have internal funding for this, a little under $5 million for that segment. So this will be built in-house by the National Park Service. And we were pleased to also learn that we are receiving a construction engineer out of Denver within the Park Service who will be on loan to this park to help us with that. So this is a wonderful addition. And the other big thing that we're dealing with is Norfolk Southern. We have to replace roughly a 280-foot bridge, but again, that's included in the funding. And thankfully, at least right now, we've got very, very good contact with the Norfolk Southern. So we're very pleased with that. And that gets us to Lake Street. We do have to cross Lake Street again. We will put a very nice trailhead in at the Paul Douglas Center. You can see its parking lot there just to the east of Lake Street there, and it'll become a nice trailhead. And then the next section, small section where a lot of this real estate is there, we can see just north of the parking lot, those little 125-foot wide lots. There's 9 of them in there that we're working on. Also, I should shout out to Save the Dunes, has also been very, very helpful with this and working hard to get this. And Liz Johnson with Senator Van's office has also been very instrumental in this. And then as we go a little bit further to the east, we will cross Grand Boulevard. There is an existing bridge there. And then that light blue section we do see that's funded. That's again internal to the to the National Park Service. And that is an existing gravel trail. It's an official trail within the National Park Service called the Marquette Trail, which will obviously be renamed the Marquette Greenway Trail, not to confuse people. But again, that is funded and that will be very easy to construct because it already is an existing gravel trail, and all of this that you see here was all once part of the Dune Park branch, which was originally part of the Indiana Harbor Belt, and was one of the most confusing lineages of railroad land I have ever seen, stretching back over 120 years. I've spent dozens of hours and still can't figure out the lineage of ownership, but we're very, very close. And again, we think in 2022, the National Park Service will own all of the necessary land to then construct it.
All right, thank you so much. this is the, as he was talking about, this is the blow up of those. You can see all of these paper properties, but still they have legal weight. And so he's trying to go through that and get that finished off there. And then continuing on here, Rafi, we have West Beach that you guys have, that you're also working to get the trail through as well. And this is the last part on the western side. There's an eastern part of the national park I'll talk about in a moment and kick it back to Rafi. But the West Beach segment here pretty much follows along the same old abandoned rail line that the trail continues on here to the west. And this goes right through Ogden Dunes, and we're going to try to work through the community of Ogden Dunes to get it placed at this property. And this is where we begin the city of Portage, and Portage has been extremely active in getting the trail constructed, and big shout out to Mayor Lynch and to AJ Monroe of the city for their vision over the years in making this happen. As you can see down here, this green line is the Ameriplex property, and of course we're right here in NERPC, but this is the Ameriplex property, and they have already completed this trail, and they are finishing a trail over Salt Creek later this year to connect in the Burns Harbor and take it all the way to 149, which I'll talk about in a moment. But as you can see, several little projects going on here. We have this entire segment here, and then we have a bridge here at number 11. Number 10 is an underpass, and number 12. And let me talk about those real quick. This is how it's going to look when you get to the actual area north of the Portage Marina here south of Precoat and Metals. This is the trail that's coming through. Ogden Dunes is over here on the left-hand side of the screen. The red line is the trail itself. This is the Marina Canal that gets out to Lake Michigan to pretty much to Burns Ditch Canal, coming down into the marina here. This is US 12 at the bottom. As you can see, the trail itself is going to go under US 12 and the tracks, and then come down into the Portage Marina, keeping it safe and separated from all the traffic here. And there is a whole lot of traffic, train and as well as truck traffic and so on. So this will be an advantageous part of the trail, getting people through here safely. This is part of a plan that the city put together maybe a decade ago, and I think they've updated a couple of times since. So these plans have been on the books in the city of Portage, and we're really, really excited to be working with them to see this done. Continuing on from this point, I'm sorry, this will be a new bridge up here, and this will be a kind of a boardwalk built into the canal down here under those bridges to make that work. We also are going to utilize an old abandoned rail bridge on Chrisman Road, the old Chrisman Road bridge here. This is not a rail bridge, it was a road bridge. And it's just north of our offices here at NERPC, and this will be revitalized as part of the Marquette Greenway as well, and it's part of the grant. Getting into Burns Harbor, I'm skipping over now because the trail itself has been built to this point. This is not part of the RAISE grant, but this is another exciting part that is coming up that is being developed within the town of Burns Harbor. And this is the Westport development. As you can see, this brown line is the Marquette Greenway as it kind of twists and turns and really represents the spine of this new development, which we're very excited to see Burns Harbor really grab onto the advantages that the trail provides, much like you've seen in the city of Carmel over the years and maybe the Broad Ripple neighborhood of Indianapolis. And they're trying to take that here and bring that same type of energy to this new development. So moving on to that, we have another segment here that I'm going to now pass it on to Rafi to talk about.
Sure, and Mitch, let me just also say it's been great working with Portage on the Salt Creek, because there is a little bit of national park land between 149 and 249, and it's a difficult section because the ravine, if you've ever been out there, the Salt Creek and Little Calumet, like the topology is very tough. But we are hopeful that by next fall you'll be able to ride a bike from 149 to 249, and everything's on track. We just had an environmental call, and everything is looking really good. So And then obviously here, what we're seeing is through Burns Harbor, we reach up to the Norfolk Southern tracks. Very difficult place. I will be honest. We originally thought that we could go under their trestle that crosses the Little Calumet River, but there are issues with that bridge and they do not want us to go under. So it is forced Burns Harbor to go over there. And I commend them and, you know, for doing that. And we've already submitted an initial design with Norfolk Southern there. If nothing else, it will give riders a very nice vista of Minoki Prairie, which is basically where the Burns Harbor label is, and the Project 5 label, that is all Minoki Prairie. And we do have compliance and funding to go all the way up until where the arrows meet from Project 13 to Project 5. That is the border of Burns Harbor into the town of Porter. That next section will hopefully be part of the raise or other funding to get us that last little stretch. It's a little under a mile to get us over to Howe Road. But that should be really, you know, that's all tall grass prairie in there and should be really, really nice. And obviously at the eastern end of that, we connect into the existing Porter Brickyard Trail.
All right, thank you for that. And as we continue to move, everything is kind of built up to the Calumet Trail. And I'm going to pass this off to Rafi in a moment, but the Calumet Trail has been going through some revisions itself. This purple line that you see here on the left-hand side is actually State Route 49 extended into the state park entrance right here. This is the Dune Park South Shore train station. Everything up to this point is pretty much going to be built right along or on top of the existing Calumet Trail, but then we have a diversion. So Rafi, can you talk about this yellow line, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and this is, I want to shout out to Bob Thompson with Porter County and others. Porter County has been really aggressive in trying to, you know, not only I guess not complete, because it's been, this is one of the region's oldest trails from at least 1970 or so, I think. Our very oldest map of this national park shows it already in place. But everybody knows that this is actually more of a river than a trail currently, and we have seen fish on the trail. So, you know, we want to get it out from underneath the power lines and get it into the national park wherever possible. But Mitch is right. So from Mineral Springs Road to the west to the Dune Park train station, we are going to stay on the existing corridor. It is funded. It is due to be completed this summer/fall. We get to the Dune Park train station and we are going to utilize the Dune Kankakee Trail, which is the trail that runs from our visitor center north to the state park. And so we will loop north and then south over top of the South Shore tracks and Route 49. And then we will enter into brand new trail. This is also really exciting because it sort of connects our visitor center eastward, you know, all the way into Beverly Shores and all the way into Michigan City. So that's really exciting. But the yellow line, as it starts out, it's going to be brand new trail, and then it's going to connect into something that we call the Glenwood Dunes Extension Trail. And we'll eventually hit a road that we own, the national park does, called Haydenfeld. It'll bump us up to 1500 North, which is called Furnaceville Road. And it'll then make the way over to Kemmel Road, also known as East State Park Road, where our old visitor center, our current USGS offices, that will be a nice trailhead parking lot. We're working very closely with NICD to actually have off-road, like dedicated true crossings at Mineral Springs Road and at Kemmel here, so we will not have to cross their tracks with cars. And then we're going to take advantage of an old Beverly Shores road called Service Avenue that runs from East State Park Road east to Broadway, which is sort of the downtown Beverly Shores. Again, it connects into a South Shore train station and a lot of new business and stuff, which will be great for pedestrians and cyclists alike to find places to eat, etc. And then we will do our best again to sort of stay off the corridor to a road called Lake Shore County Road. And that is sort of, that yellow line is the middle segment. And then Mitch, I don't know if you have it, but then the last segment from Lake Shore County Road over to, and I want to give a shout out, I see Shannon Eason is on here with the Michigan City. We will connect into the Singing Sands Trail at the current location there, and obviously a nice trailhead there. But this is obviously will be greatly enhanced, this section, this 9 miles that used to be underneath the power lines. And, we're going to move a good 6 miles of it or so off of that. I think that's the number, and it'll be a lot nicer trail.
Yeah, I don't have another slide that connects the Singing Sands, but you're right, Rafi, and people might be asking, we have the venerable Bob Huffman on the line, who's been working with me for years on the Calumet Trail. It's like, yeah, the blue line is the existing trail, but the problem with this trail is it's 9 monotonous miles in a hot sun under a power line. And so what we're trying to do is try to add some variety. Pretty much all of this yellow line is going to be within canopy. And it's going to be a much more pleasant experience for trail users as they go through here, utilizing some old trails, some old roads that Rafi explained. So it's going to be a much better user experience and kind of break that up as we go along. The part that is on the, going back here, the part that is on the Calumet Trail, the existing trail, we understand that it is not more of a trail, more of a water trail right now. And so we're going to be looking to raising it up here. This is a cross-section from some previous engineering studies on how it will look within the actual Calumet Trail corridor. But of course, as Rafi had mentioned, we have some old maintenance roads and some old trails that we can utilize through the national park that we won't have to worry about. Again, that's another issue too, is that the Calumet Trail is wet, and it does require extensive engineering to keep it dry. And so the more we can stay off of it, we just think it's a much better user experience. And we're also touching into parts of the national park that have not been accessed before. So that's an advantage as well.
Yeah, I mean, nature, if I could say, nature has just really decided that it's now a wetland, and it acts like it's a delineated wetland. And so the costs are actually high, very high, because we have to do mitigation even on the existing route. The other thing to note is that it is, and has always been, NIPSCO's service route, and they have to put very, very, very heavy cranes out there to work on their high tension lines. And so there are extreme restrictions that we have to go through as far as weight bearing capability, and not being able to raise the trail up as high as we would like to, because we have to play by their needs. Because again, first and foremost, it's their maintenance road. And so every mile that we can get off of it makes it better, unbiased, but all the way around.
Absolutely. All right, let me just kind of finish off here real quick as we get into Michigan City. Michigan City has a section of the Singing Sands done. It was opened this year to the delight of all of us. The first 4 miles of it, the first part here, as you can see, a lot of the Marquette Greenway is threading the needle. There's not a lot of room to work in many areas, but as you can see, Michigan City did a great job here in creating a separated path safely from US 12, even with the attractive vista of the smokestack for NIPSCO. But still, it makes it a kind of an iconic look as you get into the lakefront of Michigan City. And this slide here to the bottom right, this is what was constructed coming out of kind of a former landfill area that's been reclaimed. And when they went through there, they found that the soils were pretty bad, and they were able to build this very nice boardwalk through there. So this is also just come online as well near Liberty Trail Road. Now, all of that can be seen here in this green line that I just showed you. In fact, that boardwalk is approximately right here as you get to, I think, Liberty Trail Road. The rest of the RAISE grant will take care of a segment here within, I think, the International Friendship Gardens, north of Potawatomi Park. And then it'll run, again, this is showing you kind of running along the road, but it'll be a separated path along these roadways, kind of an interior road here, and this is Carwick. It's going to cross the Amtrak here at US 12, be on the north side of the line, and it'll continue on all the way up here to the end of Michigan City at Muir Road. This blue line is a funded segment by LaPorte County that is also north of the track. So all of this will be safely from the tracks and also off-road as well as we continue into the state of Michigan. And that's what we see here, the Michigan state line on the bottom, project 16 and 17. The nice part is, as I'll show you in a minute in the budget, most of this has been funded. They just need another $1 million to top it off. Who doesn't need $1 million to top off things? But they do need $1 million to top off this project. Eventually, it'll come into the city of New Buffalo. It's going to come on street at this point. Of course, we'd like to see it off road, but the streets that they're going to utilize are quite quiet. This is the one that it's coming off of US 12. It's going to utilize this as a shared route to a trailhead. As you can see, as I've always said, like a lot of residential routes are just wide bike trails because they just get very little traffic except maybe these four-wheelers, but still that'll be a nice segment into the downtown New Buffalo area. As for all the costs, here they are. I don't want to break it down in great detail, but there's 17 segments, and then we talk about the ready funds here. This was what was submitted to the US DOT, and as you can see, that's how our budget played out. So with all this in mind, and you can see how everything broke out with all the estimates and so on, let's talk about ready. Okay, so we talked about raise. We all got that in our head. Now let's talk about ready. The ready acronym, Regional Economic Acceleration and Development Initiative. It is a state program, okay? And the ready grant is helping to top off the raise grant. So ready, set, let's go. It's administered by the Economic Development Corporation of Indiana. There was $500 million available statewide last year. And this is from the American Recovery Act that was passed back in March of last year. 17 regions in Indiana submitted proposal for the $50 million max award. For each, there was $50 million was max. They had to distribute 500 million. I think they got maybe well over $1 billion worth of requests from these 17 regions. And Northwest Indiana, the region here, was led by the Forum. In fact, it was a 7-county initiative, including the 4 counties underneath the Kankakee River. And 36 projects were selected from the Forum for funding under their Northwest Indiana proposal, including, yes, the Marquette Greenway. And the proposal was based on the previous work under their 2018 Ignite the Region plan. So they had some planning behind it to begin with. It really helped out with their proposal. And thankfully, we were awarded with that as well. $50 million was awarded to the Northwest Indiana Forum. The Marquette Greenway is slated to receive up to $3 million of those funds to aid with the local match obligations of the Marquette Greenway. There are several points of the trail that are going to need some assistance. And some communities don't have the resources like other communities do. And we're going to play that out accordingly and see how best to spend that money to make sure that we can stretch it out and get the trail done in the quickest amount of time possible. And speaking of time, this is the schedule. Everything you see there on that column from 1 to 22, that's what has to be accomplished. Here's how it works. We have to have all the funds obligated by September of 2024. Basically, we have to have them programmed, and we cannot spend any more of this grant. And I saw the raise grant until September of 2029. September of 2029 is when they pull all remaining funds, and we cannot use them for reimbursement any further. So you do your math, that's about an 8-year window for us to finish this project. We are very confident it'll be done well before then. We're thinking about a 5-year window, both Rafi and myself, to see it done, because there's been so much energy already afforded to it, and we've had so much success working with our stakeholders to date. But this is how it'll work out. This is kind of an engineer's dream right here, how this works for people like lay people. They're like, what? But as you can see, lots go into what you're talking about, utility coordination and so on and so forth. But what we're doing right now is we are at point number 1, or point number 2 exactly, at consultant selection and contract and approval. Right now, we are working with the Federal Highway Department as well as NDOT on who is going to get the money, and also working on an agreement on how that'll be spent and which consultant will be selected or consultants. Now, we're dealing with multiple communities. Many of these communities have already kind of progressed with their engineering drawings. We do not want to be redundant about that, but we want to be complementary. It's a happy problem. Let me just put it that way. It's a happy problem. I tell people this, it's like the dog catching the car, okay? So our jaws are clenched on the back bumper and we're just kind of flying around. We're trying to figure out where this car is going, but we're enjoying the ride. So we hope to work out these details, these very, this is definitely in the weeds details that we hope to be working out within the month here, and really start launching this and starting to work expeditiously with our stakeholders. And many of them are on the line, and many of them aren't, but we can't thank all of you enough for being so supportive and getting us across this line, making this happen. This is going to be a massive regional shot in the arm when it's completed, and benefit us all for many, many generations to come. So I really appreciate your time and putting up with us for that presentation. And I will open it up for any questions if there are any to be had at this time. sometimes you just say all the right things and
He left.
there are
everything.
no, everyone's fine.
Everyone's asleep.
Oh, yeah, Rafi, let's just be honest. I think we went too fast. I think maybe they're just like holding their heads going, whoa, whoa, whoa. So I'm going to stop sharing this and start sharing our agenda yet again. And I will kick it back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mitch, and thank you everyone that has participated. It's amazing. It's a lot of information and it's good information.
Yes, sir.
Since there are no questions, you've left us all speechless. We'll proceed to.
Yes, is there anyone from the Paddling Association on the line to have an update? I don't hear anybody.
Okay. We can always come back to paddle. Let's go to grab bag.
Yes, you can see the agenda, right, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna go to this page. If you can see this is my Gmail site. So what's happening over the next year from October to October is called Year of the Trails. And Year of the Trails is being advocated here in the state of Indiana by both the Greenways Foundation as well as the Rails to Trails Conservancy. The Rails to Trails Conservancy actually has a toolkit on how you can participate in Year of the Trails. I'm gonna click on the link to that toolkit right now. It basically takes you to a Google Drive, and I'm going to take you. There's press releases. There's all sorts of different graphics you can use to kind of celebrate Year of the Trails in your particular community. Let's see if it opens up here. Here's the logo. So these are all, oh, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. Here it is. So this is the logo for Year of the Trails that was developed, and we're trying to push this throughout the year. And the toolkit will kind of help you think about some of the activities you can put on in your own community to celebrate the trail and what it means to your community. And so we're trying to make this work and kind of course, raise the awareness of the benefits of trails throughout the state. So that's what we're in the process of doing. I am going to make sure that you get the link to this Google site so you can take part in this. Everything's public domain, use at your discretion. And hopefully you'll be able to celebrate a Year of the Trails event this year in Indiana. And we're probably going to focus on the National Trails Day, which is the first Saturday in June, and try to make a big splash statewide regarding that particular day. And of course, merging with the Year of the Trails. So that is happening. And I do appreciate your patience. And I really would appreciate you kind of jumping on board and helping out with that initiative and helping us out to spread the word. And of course, I'm here if you need to talk to me about any ideas you may have. Thank you.
Okay, we did announcements. Any upcoming events, project updates?
Any updates from any stakeholders on projects out there? I'm gonna point to John Novosich because I know the Pensy is under development. How's that coming along?
Yeah, I could see your finger through the phone pointing at me. Big old fingernail with dirt underneath there. You must have been working on the trail.
Just a little dirt.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good. We're on schedule to put out the bid fairly soon. If not the end of this month, beginning of February, with construction scheduled to start this spring. We have all our right-of-way acquired. So drawings have been sent to DNR and they're under review right now. So that's kind of where we're at with phase 4.
Do you have an idea? Maybe you just said it, but when do you believe you might be constructing that segment?
Well, we hope that construction is going to start in the spring and substantially be completed, by the fall, and then have, until next spring to wrap up any other details and close out the project.
And can you tell our listeners where this segment is and where it's going to?
Sure. If you're familiar, there's the Pensy Greenway starts at the Illinois-Indiana border, or not actually in Indiana. We were talking about the feasibility study at the Indiana-Illinois border through Dyer. That would link into the Pensy. The Pensy actually connects in by Munster in Illinois and extends southeastern direction to Crown Point. This phase is from Rorman Park. Let me backtrack. We have 3 phases already completed. So we completed into Munster. This would be our last phase, and would continue from Rorman Park to the Cherville Crown Point border at Clark Road. And from there, it'd be up to the city of Crown Point to continue it and tie into the Erie Lackawanna Trail. So we have a little bit over 2 miles left to complete.
And when it's done, it's going to be, I think, over 6 miles alone just in the town of Cherville, which is a tremendous accomplishment for the town. The fact that, you know, the town of Cherville is kind of like, it's somewhat a bit of a diagonal town as it's kind of grown over the years, and the Pensy cuts right through the core of it. I mean, it couldn't be placed any better. And so it's just really going to be a tremendous shot in the arm for the community in whole. And John knows it. John's been the biggest champion of this trail in Cherville, and can't thank him enough for continuing to push it forward, and looking forward to continue it into your neck of the woods, Andrew. So to get it from Clark Road, you got funding, so that's definitely part of it. And just so you know, everybody, John, this is Next Level Trails, and he received funding just 2 years ago, and he's going to have this thing built this year. So that's the advantage of Next Level Trails. It's state money. It's quick.
Thank you, John. Good update.
Yeah, we're fortunate. Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, one last thing. I didn't have it on the agenda, but we are in the process, we being NERPC, of updating our long-range transportation plan. It is our core document that kind of guides us with what we have to do over the next few years here. Every 5 years, every 4 years, we're supposed to update it. And so we're in the process of re-updating it. The 2050 plan was our last go around. So this will be an update to that. It'll either be 2050 or 2055. We're not sure what number it'll be, but we are doing it differently. We're going to be hiring consultants to be working on different parts of the plan. There'll be a land use consultant, there'll be a transit consultant, and an active transportation consultant. And we have 3 firms that we're working with right now and whittling it down, and they'll be working with us directly and be doing some pretty high-end data analysis that we really haven't been able to do before because we hadn't had the resources, but we do have some extra money to work with. COVID did kind of ground our work over the last couple of years, and so there is some money that we can use, and we're excited to say that we hope to have that consultant on board by probably the end of this month. And when you see me again, because we're going to have a new kind of schedule here. We'll be meeting in May, so it'll be down the line. We'll be probably in the thick of that work, and that consultant will probably be at the meeting to talk about where they're at. Just want to give everyone a heads up there.
Great report today. Do any of the other members of the committee, anything else from anybody?
Hi, this is Shannon Eason. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sorry, I was having some difficulties. I have a couple of questions about the Raise and Ready grants, Mitch.
Yeah.
For sections of the trail that have had no work done on them yet, is it your intention to like build these under one project?
We don't know yet. We're still trying to figure. This is a different project, even in the federal perspective, because we're dealing with so many stakeholders. We have, I think, nearly 13 or 14 different municipality and entities that are involved here. There's a lot. So we're not sure how we're going to attempt it, but we probably are going to be doing different projects, not all at once, but probably all under the same engineering at least.
Okay, great. And then year of the trails, you said October to October. Is that October 21 to 22?
Yes. We're in the middle of it right now.
Okay.
So it launched, it was actually a proclamation by the Indiana State Legislature, and we began it in October. So as I said, I will work with Constant Contact to get you some information on how to tie into their guidelines.
Great. And then one last item. I just wanted to let you know that phase 3B of Singing Sands has begun. So
excellent.
Tree work is going on right now. It's only going to take a couple of weeks, and construction will start late March.
Excellent news. Thank you, Shannon.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Wonderful. Anybody else? Any other committee members, NERPC staff, and the general public?
I will just say one thing, just for a matter of internal housekeeping. I'd like the NERPC staff to please stay on the line after the call. We need to have a quick debrief.
Okay. This was a great report. Thank you, Mitch and NERC staff and also the participating communities that have contributed so much to the trail development. This is great. Our next
Absolutely.
meeting is Thursday, May 22nd, May 26th, 1:30, hopefully at NERC offices,
Hopefully.
or maybe both. And if there's nothing else, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mayor Lynch and John Novosich.
Thank you. This meeting's
Great
adjourned.
report, Mitch. It was a great report. I love the presentation on the trail.
It was
Thank you so much, Mayor.
Very exciting.
Nicely done.
Very good.
Nice and informative.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Rafi. Appreciate
And
your help.
thanks for your hard work, Mitch. We know you've worked really hard on this.
I used to have a full head of hair before all this started, Mayor.
That'll do it. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
all.
Everyone.
Bye now.
Please hold the line, staff.